Urban legends always held a special fascination for me. They were the stories whispered in the dark, the tales of horrors lurking just beyond the realm of reason. But one legend, in particular, still haunts my nights: the legend of the Whistler in the woods. The story goes that deep within the dense forest that skirts our town, there's a clearing known only to the bravest souls. It's said that on the darkest of nights, a haunting melody pierces the silence. The Whistler, as they call him, is a phantom, his presence heralded by the mournful tune. One evening, curiosity got the best of me, and armed with a flashlight, I ventured into the woods. The path was treacherous, branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, and the wind seemed to carry an ominous whisper. As I entered the clearing, the forest around me fell silent. The air grew thick with an unseen presence, and then I heard it, a soft, haunting whistle. It sent shivers down my spine. I followed the sound, the beam of my flashlight cutting through the darkness. The melody was both beautiful and eerie, like a siren's call. It drew me deeper into the heart of the woods. And then I saw him, a figure standing in the moonlight, his back turned to me, whistling that eerie tune. I called out, but he didn't respond. My steps grew hesitant as I approached, the sense of foreboding intensifying with every step. I reached out to touch his shoulder, but my hand met empty air. The figure dissolved like mist, and the whistling ceased. The woods around me seemed to close in, the trees twisting and contorting as if alive. Panic surged as I realized I was alone, trapped in this nightmarish landscape. As I stumbled back, I heard it. The faint sound of whistling, not from one direction, but from all around me. The Whistler was no longer a single figure. He was the very forest itself. Terrified, I fled, branches clawing at my clothes as I raced back to the safety of the town. I never ventured into those woods again, but the haunting melody of the Whistler lingers in my mind, a reminder that some legends are not meant to be pursued, and that darkness can be far more than just a story in the night. College life was supposed to be a time of excitement and new experiences, but my freshman year took a chilling turn when I moved into my dorm room with Alex. At first, he seemed like an ordinary guy, just another student navigating the transition to college life. But it didn't take long for me to realize that something was deeply wrong with him. Alex was unnervingly friendly, always eager to engage in conversations that veered into the unsettling. He would ask about my daily routine, my friends, even my family, prying for details that made me increasingly uncomfortable. His eyes, however, revealed a different story: cold, calculating, and void of empathy. The trouble truly began one evening when I came back to our shared dorm room. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear Alex muttering to himself in hushed tones. As I stepped inside, the room was bathed in a dim, eerie light, with symbols scrawled across the walls in what looked like blood. My heart raced, and I asked Alex what he was doing. His response sent a shiver down my spine. "I'm trying to decipher the messages," he said, his voice dripping with anticipation. "They're meant for you." Terrified, I contacted campus security and explained the situation. They searched the room and found disturbing notebooks filled with my name, written hundreds of times, interspersed with ramblings about my daily life. Alex was promptly removed from the dormitory and placed under psychological evaluation. For a while, I felt safe, but the horror was far from over. I received letters in the mail, each one more disturbing than the last. They were filled with references to our shared experiences, to conversations we had had late at night, and to secrets I had never shared with anyone. Alex had been keeping a chilling record of my life, detailing everything from my favorite foods to the names of my closest friends. The letters grew increasingly threatening, promising that he would always be watching, that he knew my every move. Terrified, I sought help from the campus authorities, but they could do little to protect me from the relentless onslaught of letters. As the days turned into weeks, the letters grew more personal, more invasive. They hinted at a deep obsession, a sinister desire to possess me. Then, one night, as I lay awake in bed, I heard a noise coming from the hallway. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoed in the darkness. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized that someone was trying to enter my room. I reached for my phone and dialed 911, praying for help to arrive in time. But before I could utter a word, the door swung open, and there stood Alex, his eyes filled with a manic intensity. "I told you I'd always be watching," he hissed, advancing toward me. In that moment, the police burst into the room, overpowering Alex and placing him under arrest. It was the end of my harrowing ordeal, but the scars it left behind would take much longer to heal. I had learned a chilling lesson about the darkness that can lurk in the hearts of those we least suspect. It's a lesson that has stayed with me, a haunting reminder that evil can manifest itself in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the people we think we know best are the ones harboring the darkest secrets. The cemetery lay still under the pale moonlight, tombstones like sentinels guarding the secrets of the dead. I wandered alone, the crunch of gravel beneath my shoes a stark contrast to the eerie silence. As a historian, cemeteries had always fascinated me, but this one held an unsettling air. I came upon an ancient, weather-worn gravestone, barely legible. Leaning closer, I strained to decipher the name: Eleanor Hartwood, 1834-1851. Too young, I thought, to have met such an early demise. A chilling breeze rustled the leaves, and I heard a soft, mournful whisper, "Help me." My heart quickened as I scanned the graveyard, but I was alone. The voice returned, faint yet distinct. "Please, help me." I followed the voice to a crypt hidden in the shadows. Pushing open the heavy door, I was met with the overwhelming scent of decay. Inside, a flickering candle illuminated a spectral figure, Eleanor, her eyes hollow, her voice a lament. She recounted her tragic tale, buried alive by mistake, trapped in a suffocating darkness for decades. The realization chilled me to the bone. Eleanor begged for release, her skeletal hand reaching out. I recoiled, torn between disbelief and compassion. With trembling hands, I began to unearth her grave. As the first rays of dawn broke, I exposed Eleanor's skeletal remains. The spectral figure dissipated into a mist, and the whispers faded. I stood there breathless as the cemetery came to life with the songs of awakening birds. Eleanor was finally at rest. I left the cemetery, the morning sun warming my back. But the memory of that haunted gravestone and the voice that had cried out for salvation would stay with me, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the hallowed ground. Moving into the old house was like stepping into a forgotten past. The rooms were filled with antique furniture and faded photographs, each one holding a piece of history. But as night fell, the house revealed its secrets. I woke to faint whispers, as if the walls held memories they longed to share. The floorboards creaked under phantom footsteps, and shadows danced in the corners of my vision. My family brushed it off as the house settling, but I knew it was something more. One evening, I explored the attic, drawn to a locked door. As I turned the handle, a rush of cold air greeted me. Inside, an old music box lay, its tune hauntingly beautiful. But when I wound it, the whispers grew louder, and the room seemed to come alive. Each night, the music box played on its own, its melody carrying an unspoken sorrow. It was as if a lingering presence was trying to communicate. One night, the whispers formed words, a plea for release. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I followed the whispers to a hidden room in the basement. The air was heavy with an ancient grief. There, I found a faded photograph of a girl who looked just like me. The whispers grew desperate, urging me to set them free. With trembling hands, I placed the music box on the ground. Its melody filled the room, and the air shimmered. The girl from the photograph appeared, her eyes filled with gratitude. As the music faded, so did the whispers. The house fell silent, the shadows still. I had set the trapped spirit free, giving her the peace she longed for. The old house, once a reservoir of secrets, became a place of closure and connection. Now, as I look around, I feel a sense of tranquility. The house is no longer haunted by whispers and shadows. It's a haven where the past has found its voice and the present holds a newfound serenity.